From epic clashes and intense showdowns
By Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
to stories worthy of the silver screen,
Coulthard into the wall will stop the race. They'll have to...
these are some of the F1 moments worth watching again. Number 15. The 2020 British Grand Prix will be remembered for one of the most heart-stopping finishes ever. The Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas had dominated the entire weekend, poised for a 1-2 finish with a comfortable lead over the rest of the field. However, with just 2 laps to go, Bottas suffered a puncture on his left front tyre, dropping him out of the points.
To Valtteri Bottas, he's gone wide and now Max Verstappen can see the Mercedes.
To everyone's astonishment, Hamilton too fell victim to a puncture on the final lap. With a 30-second advantage over Max Verstappen, Hamilton, struggling to continue, faced an intense challenge.
Verstappen just going through, you can see him in the background.
Verstappen, having pitted for fresh tyres, mounted an incredible charge on the last lap. Despite his struggling car, Hamilton managed to nurse it across the finish line, securing victory by a mere 5 seconds in one of the most thrilling finishes in F1 history. The 1998 Belgian Grand Prix held at Spa-Francorchamps was one of the most chaotic races in Formula One history and one of the most accident-prone. After a weekend marked by several accidents, on Sunday a torrential downpour hit the circuit before the race, although it was decided to start at the scheduled time without the safety car. And everything went well for 15 seconds. After the first corner, David Coulthard lost control of his McLaren after hitting a drain cover, causing one of the most brutal accidents in Formula One history. Coulthard crashed into the barriers, then was catapulted back onto the track, causing a terrifying pileup involving up to 13 drivers. Tires, wrecked cars, debris everywhere. A red flag was inevitable. Miraculously, no one was injured, which was hard to believe after seeing the images. Beyond the wreckage, this race would also be remembered for the subsequent altercation between Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard, as well as for Damon Hill's triumphant final Formula One victory, marking a historic first for the Jordan team. After his victory in the 2000 Italian Grand Prix, Michael Schumacher equaled the number of wins achieved by his idol Ayrton Senna with 41. The German driver, who was on his way to winning the first of the 5 consecutive titles he would claim with Ferrari, broke down uncontrollably when asked in a post-race conference if equaling Senna meant a lot to him.
Yes, it does mean a lot to me.
Schumacher was comforted by his biggest rival at the time, Mika Häkkinen, and later by his brother Rolf, who was completing the podium, crying for more than 2 minutes. Michael himself had raced alongside Senna during his early years in Formula One, competing with the Brazilian on track and learning a lot from him. He was the one chasing Senna at Imola in 1994 when he went off track and was killed. This emotional moment experienced in Monza in 2000 showed how much respect and admiration Schumacher had for Senna. What is the most intense and memorable finish you can recall? Many would mention the epic battle between Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez in Brazil in 2023 for the final spot on the podium, where they crossed the line practically side by side. Well, the 1971 Italian Grand Prix at Monza witnessed one of the most epic finishes in all of history, with a battle among 5 drivers in the closing laps for the victory. In an era where there were multiple lines to be the fastest, drivers took advantage of various slipstreams to seize the lead. Francois Sever and Ronnie Peterson were leading the pack as they exited the final corner, and out of nowhere Peter Gethin, who came from 4th in the final lap, made a move on the inside and snatched the victory by just 1/100th of a second, making it the closest finish ever. In fact, the top 5 was separated by just 0.6 of a second, which is absolutely crazy. The 2012 European Grand Prix, held at the Valencia Street Circuit, was a total masterclass by Fernando Alonso, who considers it his best race in Formula One. The Spanish driver, after a Saturday where Ferrari couldn't find the pace, started in 11th place, aiming to minimize losses on Sunday as he was arriving 2 points behind Hamilton in the championship and only 1 point ahead of Vettel, the pole sitter. It was a challenging objective, as overtaking on an urban circuit was not easy. However, on Sunday, Alonso completed an incredible comeback, already climbing to 8th at the start and executing overtakes one after another with flawless pace to reach 2nd place, before inheriting the lead after a mechanical failure by Vettel. The stands of the Valencia circuit buzzed with excitement over that magnificent comeback, which propelled Alonso to the top of the championship standings, bringing him closer to his dream of a third championship and completing a truly dreamlike Sunday. Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux engaged in one of the most intense battles in Formula One history during the final laps of the 1979 French Grand Prix at Dijon for the second position. With 2 laps to go, Arnoux caught up to Villeneuve, who didn't make it easy for him, exchanging positions multiple times and even making contact on some occasions. Villeneuve at turn 1 dove on the inside, braking very late, locking all 4 wheels and executing a wonderful maneuver to snatch the second position by just a quarter of a second. On that day, both Villeneuve and Arnoux delivered a true masterclass in driving. A Ferrari victory at their home race in Monza in front of all the Tifosi is always special, and one of the most emotional ones was Charles Leclerc in 2019. The Monegasque driver had secured the first Formula One victory just a week earlier in Spa in a tough weekend overshadowed by the death of Formula 2 driver Antoine Hubert, a close friend of Leclerc's. At Monza, Leclerc continued his streak, securing pole position and fending off Lewis Hamilton's attacks during the race for several laps to claim a magnificent victory. In doing so, he achieved Ferrari's first home victory since Fernando Alonso in 2010, sending all the Tifosi in the stands into raptures as they saw the future of the Scuderia in good hands with Il Predestinato. To relive that podium celebration with a sea of red on the track is quite a spectacle worth watching again. The 2002 season was an absolute walk in the park for Ferrari, who practically had no rivals, securing the championship with Michael Schumacher in the runner-up position with Rubens Barrichello, along with the Constructors' title. In the final lap of the penultimate round of the championship, the United States Grand Prix held in Indianapolis, Schumacher was leading the race ahead of Barrichello, poised to celebrate his 11th victory of the season, when suddenly he eased off the throttle at the last moment to try to cross the finish line at the same time as his teammate. Thus, Barrichello took the victory by 11 thousandths of a second in a surreal yet beautiful moment. Many saw this gesture from Schumacher as compensation for what happened earlier in the season in Austria, where Barrichello was ordered to give the victory to the German for the championship. Formula One is not only about rivalries and battles between drivers, but also about camaraderie and sportsmanship. One of the most beautiful gestures seen in the history of sports occurred during the free practice sessions of the 1992 Belgian Grand Prix. Eric Comas, going over 300 km per hour at Blanchimont corner, lost control of his Ligier and crashed into the barriers, being hit by one of the tires of his car and rendered unconscious in the middle of the track, with his foot still pressing hard on the throttle, risking a big explosion. Ayrton Senna, who was slightly behind and realized immediately, got out of his car and ran to Comas, risking his own life to cut off his engine and support his head while medical help arrived. Comas recovered and returned to compete the following week, thanking Senna for his heroic action in saving his life. A true example on and off the track. The 2005 season marked the end of Michael Schumacher and Ferrari's dominance, while new talents like Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen began to emerge. In the 4th round of the championship, the San Marino Grand Prix, Schumacher started 14th and completed an epic comeback to take 2nd place just behind Fernando Alonso's Renault. During the final laps, the two drivers engage in a battle for the history books, where Alonso's relentless defense and the narrowness of Imola made it impossible for Schumacher to overtake him, crossing the finish line just 0.2 of a second apart. It was a true masterclass in driving from these two great legends. The rivalry between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost is arguably the most iconic in Formula One history. Their greatest clashes occurred at the Japanese Grand Prix of 1989 and 1990, where the rivalry reached unprecedented extremes. In 1989, with both driving for McLaren, they collided at Suzuka, leaving Prost out of the race.
Oh my goodness, this is fantastic!
Senna was able to continue but was later disqualified, with Prost taking the title amidst this tense situation. The following year, with Prost now at Ferrari, a déjà vu occurred at the same venue, but with a different outcome. Neither of them yielded in the first corner of the race, colliding again and both retiring from the race. However, this time it was Senna who took the title, marking an unprecedented historic moment. For many, this is the greatest overtake in Formula One history.
He's done it, a brilliant move there, either side of Zonta.
With the track drying after the rain, Mika Häkkinen was chasing Michael Schumacher's Ferrari for victory in the 2000 Belgian Grand Prix. On lap 41 on the long straight after Eau Rouge, Schumacher was attempting to pass Ricardo Zonta's lapped car on the outside before the chicane. Suddenly, out of nowhere and taking advantage of the slipstream, Häkkinen moved to the inside, braking later than the German in an incredible maneuver and subsequently clinching the victory. In the midst of the championship battle with James Hunt in 1976, Niki Lauda's life changed completely at the German Grand Prix held at the dangerous Nürburgring circuit. The Austrian driver, pushing to the limit on the green hell, suffered a suspension failure in his Ferrari, crashing into the barriers with the car engulfed in flames with him inside. As if that wasn't enough, two cars collided with Lauda before another driver, Arturo Mezzario, went to Lauda's aid to try to rescue him. Lauda survived, but he lost his right ear, eyebrows and eyelashes, in addition to having burns all over his body and severely damaged lungs. Lauda, known for his perseverance, returned to race just 6 weeks later in Monza in an incredible act of overcoming adversity. Although he ultimately couldn't secure the championship, the mere fact of returning to racing so soon is miraculous and worthy of the silver screen. The 2021 season witnessed an epic championship battle between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, which was decided practically on the last lap of the final round in Abu Dhabi. Hamilton had dominated the entire race over Verstappen, but a late safety car 5 laps from the end changed everything. Verstappen pitted for fresh tyres and the safety car went in on the final lap, with the stewards allowing the cars between Verstappen and Hamilton to unlap themselves. Thus, the two drivers fought neck and neck for the title on a thrilling final lap, which Verstappen, taking advantage of new tyres, overtook Hamilton to clinch his first title in a finale as epic as it was controversial. Just like in 2021, the 2008 season was also decided on the last lap of the last race. Felipe Massa crossed the finish line at Interlagos first, which would have secured him the championship over his rival Lewis Hamilton in front of his fans, a dream ending for the Brazilian. However, out of nowhere, Hamilton managed to overtake Timo Glock in the penultimate corner of the race, while the Toyota driver struggled to find grip on a wet track, thus securing 5th place. In this way, Hamilton clinched the title by just 1 point over Massa, who couldn't believe what had just happened as he was told over the radio.
Thank you again, guys. Thank you. I'm so proud to race for this team. Thank you.
Oh dear.
Amidst the despair of the Brazilian crowd, could there be a more epic ending than this? And if you're craving more epic moments, check out this video F1 drivers who destroy their careers in seconds. It's a must-see. Come on, click.